Hey traders, Corey Mitchell here with the stock watch list for the week of August 8th. A pretty small one this week, and I talked about this in the market health video that I just posted recently. We'd had a nice run up, so we'd had some great trading opportunities a couple weeks ago, and then things have been strong, so we've had a lot of vertical movement, and the patterns that I like to wait for are vertical movement followed by sideways movement. So we're probably going to need to get some sort of little pullback or something to create more trade setups that I like to see. But I did make this list and I wanted to go through it. I'll do a video because sometimes I put stocks on here that I'm just interested in watching, not necessarily trading. And there's been some confusion on that from a few people. So let's start out at the top of the list. AVO. So this one broke out. We could see big strong movement, and then it started to, we just have these waves getting smaller and smaller and smaller, getting compressed in here to a nice little consolidation. So we have two parts of a pattern: a contraction, which is this, where we start to see waves getting smaller and smaller, and then we have a consolidation, which is a 2 or 3 bars, 3 bars or more moving sideways. So then we had earnings, and we got the breakout, and looks like it probably would have been stopped out on this day because we dropped below the consolidation low. So I'm interested in seeing how this one plays out. Because it had been strong, this is one to see, just lets me know how strong the market is. If this just fizzles out, then it's a little bit of evidence that the breakouts aren't working as well. If it runs higher, hey, that's good news. And there is the possibility, we can always, after a pattern breaks out, there is the possibility of getting in. So there's the option of just getting in at the old entry point, and now we'd probably have to put our stop loss below this swing low. Or we can give it a couple days, maybe it consolidates somewhere in here, and then we wait for a breakout of that, and we trade at something like this, with the stop loss below that consolidation, and we're looking for a run to the upside. So a couple different ways to trade that one. At the moment, just watching it. And ITCI. Similar kind of thing. We can see we've been contracting in smaller price waves, especially from about this point. And it won't always look exactly like a triangle. That's the important thing to notice. It's more just are these drops getting smaller? And yeah, they're just not going anywhere. We can see we're not making really much progress to the downside. A little bit lower highs, but it's squeezing in. So what I'm watching for on this one is we can see this overall type of contracting pattern. Maybe you can even call it a small channel. And we've had this run higher, so if this consolidates in this area, I'm interested in taking that trade. So a consolidation again, we move sideways for a couple days, get the breakout. As it stands right now, not doing anything with this one. It needs to show me that consolidation first. There is one option on this one, again, kind of a variation. There was a valid pattern back here. You can see it had tightened in, and then it did form a consolidation. So we could enter, but we have a problem. So you could use the old consolidation, which means you would have entered a couple days ago, stop loss below the original consolidation, target wherever you want it, but greater than 3-to-1. But we have earnings coming out in a couple days. So not in this one. I've noticed it on the scan list, but like a lot of stocks recently, earnings are coming out for a lot of these companies, and I prefer to wait till after the earnings. So for this one, again, there'll probably be some volatility following earnings. Maybe it'll oscillate around, so we might have to wait a few days just to see where it settles. But ultimately, if we get this consolidation and it doesn't have a big drop, then this would be a potential one. So again, just watching this one. Suave, this is another one, just kind of watching. It's not a great pattern. You can see it's angled up. It is getting a bit squeezed here. I had this bit bigger drop, and then these are just basically candles becoming side by side. So a little bit of a squeeze going on here. Earnings coming up soon. It's just been strong, so I thought I'd keep an eye on it. But this at this moment, nothing I would be trading. So basically all these here, just watching right now. ACRS, another one. It's already broken out, but I'm keeping an eye on it just to see if it continues with this big run following earnings. And so we had a decent little squeeze in here, breakout out there. We had 1, 2, 3 bars moving sideways. We had this drop first. That's okay if it breaks pattern, if we very quickly recover. So this one did very quickly recover. So that could have been the original entry point, stop loss below the consolidation. I was not in this one. And just seeing how it moves forward. So moving very strongly at the moment. And yeah, so I'm interested to see how that one works. There is the possibility you could get in. If it does pull back, you could potentially get in there. But pretty whipsaw at the moment. So again, when I'm just watching, why would I put these on the list if I'm just watching? Because then I get to see how overall conditions are. Like I'm doing my analysis for the market, but I also want to see, like, are trades actually working? So I like to have a few that I'm watching each week, stocks that have performed well, and I may not end up trading all of them. Actually, most of my watch lists, even if there are a lot of trades I like, I'll usually only take 1, maybe 2 a week, because over the course of a month, that'll give me 5 trades. That's usually all I'm in US stocks, maybe 4 or 5 Canadian stocks, because I have separate accounts for those. So I'm just trying to pick the best of the best. But if I can see kind of, not the best setups, if they're also working, that lets me know market conditions are really good. I can become more aggressive, put more capital into trades. So just seeing how these trades react lets me know. So AMP, this is one I'm interested in potentially trading. It's a pretty small pattern. We can see we've been chopping sideways here since early July. Move up here, a little drop. We're dropping right now. So far this is smaller, so what I'm looking for is the move back up and a consolidation. We also have earnings again coming up very soon. So if this one stays here, who knows what it'll do prior to earnings. But if we do, we had this nice consolidation here, and if we did kind of explode above this top area, above this consolidation high, I would consider that for a trade as well. And so this one's a potential trade. We just have to see what earnings does. Ultimately, price has to go up for me to get triggered into this one. REL, also one of interest. Earnings are already out. The only thing I don't love is that it is, we can see it's not a huge mover once we're up at these highs. We don't really have any similar patterns where we've moved up to a high point and then had one of these. Maybe this would be something similar, and it moved up about 20%, but that was also including an earnings announcement. So not a huge mover, and it looks to me like we're kind of just moving in a big trend channel. Higher. This is not a precisely drawn trend channel. This is just a regression. It shows the general price movement. And yes, we're moving, once we kind of get toward the highs of this area, we tend to fall off. So a couple issues with this one, but at the same time, it performed strongly while the market was down. We're right at the all-time highs. So I'm assuming all-time highs. Yeah, probably looks like it. And yeah, well, the market was down. So that's a good sign. So that offsets some of those problems for me. And ideally, I want to see this consolidation settle down on volume. Volume is dropping off. So this is a possibility. It's just whether I find something else that I like more. PR, another type of alternate entry. We had a nice contraction in here. We can see really got squeezed. We had earnings recently, and this is one of those ones where we've pulled back to the original entry point. Wouldn't have been in it. I had no interest in getting in with earnings only a few days away. So now this is one we can decide, do we want to get into this one now? And so this was the first drop. Then we had these smaller drops and ultimately getting squeezed in here. So this is the consolidation. Not a beautiful one either. And yeah, we're coming back into this original. So this is really the point we care about right there. And coming into this area. So this is an option. Do we want to go long here with a stop loss down below here, below this box? Up to you. But I'm watching that one again just to see how these stocks are acting. When we have a lot of breakouts that fail, that's information I want to know because it tells me to back off on trading these breakouts. If these breakouts pull back but they're not hitting the stop losses and they keep running, that's good. That tells me to be aggressive. So just keeping an eye on a few of these that have already broken out, good idea. Step.to, this is a Canadian stock. This needs a few things to happen with it. It's a little bit of a messy pattern. We had this big drop followed by another drop. Next drop's a bit smaller. We've started to claw our way back up toward these other swing highs. So really I need this to tighten up and consolidate. We have earnings coming up in a few days. So again, not something of interest right now. This would ideally maybe take a couple swings in here and then form a nice tight consolidation. At that point, then we can start to see the price getting squeezed overall. Maybe we go for another run. So yeah, at this point until earnings come out, just watching. And I'm not going to jump in it right after earnings. I want to see that consolidation. So this isn't a fully formed or a pattern I really like yet. But again, keep a few on the list just to see how they act. This one is about, I've had a couple other ones in here that have worked out on this particular stock. And yeah, so we had this nice little pop, and now we're just seeing, the price getting squeezed in. The problem with this and some patterns like this, what I don't like about this one is you can have the pop and then you just kind of enter sideways drift mode for quite a while. So the same thing that happened over here where we just drift sideways month after month after month could also happen here. So this is a bit of a what I'd call kind of like a coin flip pattern or a bit of a gamble pattern because you're basically hoping that the move's going to happen right now because the entire thing is compressed. There's none of that. At least over here we had the move up, and then we started to get squeezed in a little bit. This is just a move up and then basically drifts sideways. So while it looks like it's getting squeezed, it's not really. There's no like triangle pattern here or anything. But I did see that, we've had some big movements in this stocks, and so it's just one I want to keep an eye on. And if I start to see it, pop up above this recent consolidation, then I may look at a trade. But again, it's a trade-off of what else is out there at the time. Again, I don't know if this is going to trigger Monday or next week. So it's what are the opportunities I have at the time, cash available based on other swing trading opportunities that are around, because trading is always an opportunity cost. You might have several stocks you're interested in, and you could put them all in different ones, but I prefer to pick a few that I like the best, and that's where I'm going to put most of my capital. So that's the breakdown of the list. So as we look at it, most of these I am not super interested in trading at this exact moment. They're more to see how some that have broken out are doing, or how they're going to do after earnings, because a lot of them have earnings coming out soon. So it's a bit of a week of more sitting and waiting. Last week was the same thing. I didn't see a lot that I liked, and we had some great opportunities the week before. So that's how trading goes. You typically have, run-ups where a lot of stocks move higher. Then you get consolidation periods where we get a lot of our setups. Then we get a week of running higher, a couple weeks of running higher. Then it takes another couple weeks for those setups to form again, where we start moving sideways. We get these contraction patterns. So we go in these types of phases where we have lots of trades, followed by a few weeks of where we're not taking any new trades, but maybe some old trades are hitting our targets and running higher. And then we get a new batch of new trades. Those ones run higher. We wait till they hit their targets. Maybe some new trades are coming up. So we're always kind of in this cycle, and that's fine. That's just the process. Check the market health. Make sure market health is good so that we know we can take trades. If the market health is good, then we run our scans, look to see how stocks are performing, and that just lets us know how aggressive we can be. So right now, overall, things seem to be working quite well, and this week will either confirm or deny that based on this list. So I'm watching these to see how they perform. Some I may opt to trade, as I discussed. Other ones will simply be to see how prior triggers are working and overall market health. So I hope that makes sense and clears up a few things of how I operate these watch lists. And some weeks, everything will be of interest to me because the market's super healthy. All the patterns are great. This week, as I mentioned, because of kind of the state of the market we're in, where we've had a nice run up recently, if I pull up the S&P 500 chart, you can see we've been running higher for a while. So this is the S&P 500 chart. So we're just starting to maybe move sideways a little bit. So anything that's been strong has been really strong these last few weeks. And then I find usually after a bit of a pullback or something, we'll start to get more contraction patterns. So I'll leave it at that. Till next week. Happy trading.